What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 1 of the Rhinos podcast, where pretty much I'm going to say whatever the hell I want that I can't put in a YouTube video because I'm tired of editing, and just, you know what? It's just a compilation of a lot of stuff. Instead of making a bunch of videos, just put one long podcast so I don't have to sit down and record it, pretty much. And my co-host, what?
Sounds like you're lazy.
Pretty much. My co-host for today and most episodes, you guys to my right, every time there's a hockey video, he's always here. But we'll probably have a rotating of guests besides the two of us. Mets fan, obviously. Seems anything I do, he's around. He'll pop around. Today, he's watching the Raiders probably dying to the Kansas City Chiefs as of recording. And obviously, Frank will probably come on for other big things as well. So pretty much all the Mets Weekly guys will probably pretty much all of the Mets Weekly guys will be a rotating cast of characters. So, episode 1, we're recording this on Monday night, and the NHL season does start tomorrow. For some reason, they're going with an Eastern Conference Finals matchup, and the Vegas Golden Knights playing the Kings of all teams as the opening night doubleheader on ESPN. The Penguins don't play till Thursday, and the Leafs play on Wednesday. So, we're going to do a breakdown of the NHL season, predictions. Either we're all going to look very smart, or we're all going to look dumb as shit. One of the two. Who really knows? But kind of breaking down the standings, what predictions, breakout players, and obviously breaking down the two respective teams that we represent. And, they just play hockey and, sometimes good, most of the time bad. But, Jimmy, your opening statements to the people.
First of all, you're wrong. Regular season started on Saturday, I believe it was.
We're not counting the games in Bulgaria or wherever it was.
NHL loved to announce that one, really made it clear that the NHL is starting on it. But anyways, yeah. Technically, their marketing opening night is tomorrow.
It's on U.S. or Canadian soil. Who cares? And they picked two teams that nobody's going to care about. It's like San Jose and Nashville or whatever the hell it was. Who really cares?
Honestly, that division is so bad, Nashville could be a playoff team anyway.
Exactly. So the fact that that's the opening series, who cares? It starts tomorrow when actual teams play. But what else you got? Your opening statements.
My opening statements? I don't know. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the NHL season. Can't wait to see the Rangers not win the cup again because that's not happening this year.
Well, yeah, because when you've got two juggernauts on each side, you have a feeling what that cup's final is going to be. So, obviously, even though both of them lost some pieces, they're also going to grow new heads because that's what both of those teams are going to do. So we'll start breaking down division by division, the key acquisitions, the key subtractions from each team, the positives, the negatives, why we think they're going to be great, why they're going to suck, and pretty much break it down. So we'll start obviously in the East because the West just sucks. There's only like one good team in the West, and all the good teams are in the East. And we'll start with the Atlantic. Obviously, last year the Florida Panthers coming out of nowhere. Well, I'm not saying coming out of nowhere, but obviously seeing Tampa and obviously regular season dynamite Toronto Maple Leafs. Didn't think that Florida would be the one won the division, was first in the division, but they were. Made some acquisitions, also made some key negatives, which I think is going to hurt them down the line. But who do you have as your top 3 in the Atlantic? In what order do you think it finds out? And does Florida stay in that top spot?
Don't think it's really going to be any different than last year. I think this is exactly how it finished. I have Florida number 1, Toronto number 2, and Tampa number 3. Florida, I do think got worse by losing Uyghur and Huberdeau. I mean, they added Kachuk. I think that's pretty 1-for-1, but I think Uyghur's going to hurt them. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of have it fallen out the same way. I think Toronto, they always, I don't know. They're just weird. For some reason, I just don't think they're going to get first in the division. And Tampa, I think, is just kind of going to coast. I feel like they did that a bit last year. They've been playing a lot of hockey the past couple of years, going to the finals for 3 straight years, winning 2 cups. So I feel like they're just going to kind of coast, make sure they get the playoffs, and then put in the work in the playoffs again,
Yeah, let's just check. But yeah, for me, I have Tampa back on top. I do think the Uyghur acquisition, and I do think Huberdeau was better than Kachuk because I think Kachuk could have been a kind of a winger to how good of Johnny Gaudreau and the rest of the Calgary power play and all that. I don't think he's that good. I don't think either Kachuk is great. I know Brady and people like them. They like their all-around toughness. I just don't think they're that good of players. I do think you're going to get a regression. You're going to get a downgrade from Huberdeau. Huberdeau is just one of the best defensive two-way players out there. And you forget, that guy was leading the NHL in points for majority of the season until like McDavid decided to finally take that lead back. So people forget about that.
It was so funny because for some reason, nowhere in media was he getting attention for like the
No.
Hart Trophy or anything like that. But everyone was like, "Why is this guy not getting Hart attention?" And everyone was like, "Oh, he's overrated, this and that." But like at the end of the day, he's putting up the numbers. Like I don't know, he was just one of those people that like I felt like got no Hart attention last year, and he probably definitely should have.
Yeah. And again, like I like Spencer Knight. As you know, obviously they pay Bobrovsky a bajillions of dollars to play goaltender, and he's had a horrible first couple of years. He played pretty good last year. I mean, they have talent, Barkov, Ekblad, whatever. I just still think they're gonna. I think they're gonna go regress a little bit back down to that 3 seed. Obviously, the Leafs question marks in net. Obviously, they decide to let Soup go, and their replacements were two reclamation Sioux Greyhounds. Probably not the best decision. But Matt Murray has looked good in the few games in preseason. But again, it's preseason. And obviously, he's got the cut pedigree. The problem with Matt is, can he stay healthy? And then Samsonov is just, he's okay. You know, he was good in Washington for a couple stretch. It's also been god awful, but is that, part of Washington? Who knows? But if that is their tandem, is the one thing where it could be like, that could be them. I still think they're a playoff team. I don't think, obviously that could be their Florida can have more points. I just trust the Leafs. Matthews is going to probably score another 50 this year. And, Tavares, they're going to miss Tavares for the first month and a half. But, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, they can put that line back together and they can just pretty much dominate when they're on the ice, dominate the whole side of the ice. They did get Giordano back for nothing. They did get Sandin and Liljegren signed. So, again, they have the talent on the roster. Again, the only question is with them is obviously in the net. And then Tampa's Tampa when they're giving 7-year deals to a guy that just beat the Leafs in Game 7. They're just dominating when they're giving Nick Paul 7 years. They don't care. They have enough money. They just have enough winning. Where like they don't really care about the regular season. And I could see them just fading and just getting in and then just resting everybody to go, you know what? Let's get back to the cup because those continue to piss off the hockey market and the hockey media because we're just that damn good. And Vaz, barring an injury, which obviously is the biggest thing, is he's been healthy throughout his career. He really hasn't had a big injury for his career, so that could be something. And especially with all the hockey he has played, it could be something to think about. It wouldn't surprise me if all those games played finally catch up to him, and maybe he does have some kind of injury, and that could hurt Tampa. Even though their backup is, I don't even know who Vaz's backup is. Even know who the hell is backing him up? I have no idea. He doesn't even play. I mean, no, it wasn't like Brian Elliott for like a little bit, or it might be.
It was
might be.
at one point. I don't know. I can pull him up. I have Cat on there.
Besides, the dude plays every game pretty much. You don't see him much, but those I think are the 3 locks for the playoffs in the Atlantic.
Brian Elliott.
It was Brian. Okay, so I was right. Look at me randomly pulling that out of my butt. Then you go to the bottom half of the Atlantic, and it's a very old team, and then a bunch of youth in the other spots 4 through 8. I'll let you go first. How do you have the rest of the Atlantic looking out? And does the new look Ottawa Senators with spent some money? Pierre Dorian dies Eugene Melnick dies, and Pierre Dorian is out here spending money like it's nothing. So how do you have the bottom of the Atlantic kind of filling out?
I have Boston squeaking in, but Detroit close behind. I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit flips it and somehow squeaks in instead. Then Ottawa at 6, Buffalo 7. But again, Buffalo's making some steps finally. Like they've shown some improvement last year, and they made some good moves. Got a lot of young guys coming in. Owen Power expected to play this year and all that stuff. So but again, still don't think they're ready. So I put them at 7, and then obviously Montreal. But again, kind of like Buffalo, a lot of young guys. They added some big people like Kirby Doc this year. They have Suzuki. They have Caulfield. They have just a bunch of young guys that you all expect to take step forwards and expect them to be a lot better this year. Carey Price is out, which is obviously going to hurt them, but I mean, they haven't had him really for years now. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of youth, like you said, I expect all of them to be better. I expect Boston to be a bit worse. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they fall out of that playoff spot and one of those younger teams take it, like Detroit or Ottawa. I'd probably say those 2 teams over Buffalo or Montreal, but I would definitely lean more towards Detroit. But yeah, that's about it. The reason why I give Detroit over Ottawa actually is because I feel like they just have the better defense and the better goaltending than Grice. So,
I mean, yeah, because they went out, they got Cam Talbot, right? They flipped Gustafson for. Who they flipped Gustafson for?
They gave Gustafson to someone.
Yeah, I think it was for. I think it was for Cam Talbot from Minnesota. I'm pretty sure that was.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so, they flipped him from. Yeah.
They're going in with Forsberg and Talbot, but Talbot is on IR. He's hurt. Oh, he's hurt for a couple months, isn't he?
I guess.
Yes. He is. I just remember saying that. It was another day. Yeah, so he's
Because
out for
again,
that one. So I
yeah,
definitely give the goalie advantage to what's it called?
Detroit.
Detroit. But they don't have Grice anymore. I was mistaken. It's Billy Huso who had a great
It's
year.
Huso and Nadalkovich, I
Yeah,
guess, is the backup.
who had good
Horrific.
years recently. So well,
He had a
Dalkovich.
great year. Yeah. Again, like you said, we have this. I have the same order. Boston. I don't see. I saw NHL discussion on Instagram saying like, oh, they're the eighth best team in hockey. I'm like, where? Like
No.
he had them hired. He had them hired in the Penguins and the Rangers. I'm like, what? Like what?
Yeah.
What are you smoking? Like, oh, they brought back old man Krejci. Whoop de freaking do. They don't have McAvoy for like the first 4 months.
They don't have Marchand.
They don't have Marchand. Pasternak, I think, could walk at the end of the year, which obviously we're trying to work on an extension. But like, they brought Bergeron back, whoop de doo, and they flipped Eric Holla to Jersey, so they lost him to try to make some money. Or no, they got Holla from Jersey because Jersey was trying to make money for Gaudreau. So I mean, they're Boston, which I don't think again their goaltender with Swayman and who's the other one? Swayman, who's the other young goalie they have?
I just know Swayman.
I know
don't
Swayman's
backups that well. I know starters.
Sorry, obviously, Swayman had a great year, but I just think that time kind of like I think they're in a better spot than the Black and Gold in the Metro, but they're in a similar situation where they're very old. But I do think the one in the Metro, Olmark, yeah, I think the one in the Metro is got more talent and has a little bit longer, but Boston not far behind. I liked Ottawa going out, and as much as I don't like Claude Giroux, they went out and tried to spend some money. They locked up some of their guys like Colin White. They locked up Colin White, right? Or that was the guy they cut because they went and they locked up they gave Norris. They locked up Norris. I was like, they gave him like an 8-year deal. I'm like, is he worth that? I don't think he's that great. Obviously, again, they have Thomas Chabot. You said their goaltending is a question mark, which is the big thing. In Detroit with Morin Sider, they went out and got Andrew Kopp. They went out and started adding some talent. So again, I think Detroit is starting to get to that point where they're obviously going to take probably Boston's spot with Ottawa not far behind. Buffalo, like you said, Owen Power's coming in. Obviously, Dahlin's still there. They brought in Alex Tuck, who seems to fit in right away from the Eichel trade, but can't stall at the bottom. In Montreal, it's literally Cole Caulfield, Suzuki, and the young kids because that's literally all they have. And I feel like they're going to try to get Connor, but I think they're tanking for Bedard to try to add to that core. But again, I don't think it's pretty win, especially with Gary Price on LTR for it seems like his 4th year in a row. I don't know how else Vegas. I don't know why Vegas hasn't traded for that LTIR money, but who cares?
That's next. Don't worry, it's coming.
That's next.
Once Carey Price says that he officially can't play anymore, that's when it comes because they won't trade him until he says he can't play.
Officially, I can't play anymore. Taking on Brent Seabrook, who's next, and that's the next. They're just like the Vegas looking at LTIR money. Yes, go give me the monies, the fake monies. So yeah, that's the rest of the match. The Atlantic. Let's move to the Metro. Obviously, our division, very top heavy, but soon seems to be finally looking out like we're going to get 6 quality teams, and then Philadelphia and the Islanders. But even with Tortorella, you could believe Philadelphia could be a little bit better than what people are thinking. I'll go first. Obviously, I think Carolina still is the 1 seed. They're just the best. They won, even though they already lost Pacioretty, which is kind of poetic. I always consider. Bring in Brent Burns to replace Dougie Hamilton's offensive power play specialist. I think obviously he's got a horrible contract, but I think him figuring out the Dougie Hamilton role, just play on that first power play, be the QB on that power play. What?
He had over 50 points last year, bro.
He had 50 exactly. He had 50 points last year on a bad San Jose team. Imagine him on a good.
I think he could be better than D'Angelo defensively, which is really who he's placing. D'Angelo.
Yeah, exactly. They're replacing the cancer. He went to Philadelphia to go.
Yeah, he went to Philly. He fits right.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But Carolina, obviously, is just loaded. And goaltending situation with Freddie did play well. Was in the Vezina Trophy. Didn't look great. Obviously, got injured in the playoffs, but we'll see. Here's where obviously we're both going to differ. I got Pittsburgh one ahead of the Rangers because I just don't trust the Rangers depth. I know they have a lot of. They're going with the youth. If the youth does provide, I think it can be great. If they flop out, I think they're going to have to trade for the deadline, trade for some more depth, and I think they're going to be a late team push. The Penguins are going to be better at the beginning of the season. I think the Rangers could be a better team down the stretch. So I think the Penguins have a great start with a slower finish to still hold off the Rangers. Rangers are going to have a slower start to have a faster finish because obviously they're going to be able to trade to have some extra picks to make trades at the deadline where the Penguins do not. Obviously, in third team, I have the Rangers again. I just don't trust their depth. Obviously, they're going to bring. Obviously, you'll break that down. I just don't trust it, and they're going with the youth, which is great. I mean, I'm all for trusting the kids, but you're trusting guys who didn't want to be on your team a year ago. So we'll see. I don't have Washington making the playoffs. I have CBJ ahead of them, which I guess we'll stop halfway through. And I have CBJ at 4, and they'll bring in Gaudreau. They did have to trade Oliver Bjorkstrand, who they traded to. Forgot who they traded for cap situation. Seattle. Seattle made a nice little pickup picking him up. But when you add Gianni Hockey, that's just the kind of guy. Obviously, him and Line on a first line, it could be very dangerous. They don't really have a first line center per se, but they do have some great wingers. And obviously, Zach Werenski getting rid of Zach Jones. Goaltending is still have Elvis in the net, but again, could be a little concerning with Elvis in the net. But I think they're the 4th best team. A little bit Washington, obviously losing Backstrom, Kuzi, and I think Carlson's hurt as well, right? Isn't John Carlson hurt as well? Or
he's not on IR. I don't know if he's hurt though or not. I know he's not on IR though.
Okay, but obviously they're going to lose Nicholas Backstrom, so it loses their united 1-2 punch down in the center. So how do you have the Metro looking at? I have a genuine feeling what you're going to do, but how do you have the first
1 through 4 here, or we're
doing 1 through 5? I guess I brought the Caps in at 5.
1 through 5. Okay. So I have Carolina number 1. Easy. We already talked about them. They're pretty similar to what they were last year. They had Burns and Pacioretty. I think that'll be fine. I don't think they're going to change. You were saying the Rangers as 3. I have them as 2, obviously. Kind of similar things you were saying, except actually a little bit of reverse. You were talking about the depth. I think the depth is fine. I'm actually more worried about the top 6 because I think that the people that we're trying to play in the top 6, the kids, are perfectly fine in the depth roles. Obviously, we need them to take that step, though. It's just a matter if they can. And if they can't, then we need to go out and get some top 6 forwards. The depth is fine. So I'm not as worried about the depth. I think the depth is there. It's just a matter if the kids can perform in the top 6, which is what we need them to do. Because if they can, then our trade deadline is honestly really easy and is not that big of a concern, honestly. We could get whatever we feel like we need, whether it be injury fulfilling or just that extra stud that really pushes us over the edge. But I really think it's more about the top 6 than the depth. Per se, because to me depth is like the bottom 6, but maybe we have different definitions of depth there. So then I have Pittsburgh at 3rd. So our top 3 are pretty slimmer. Mine's the swap. Now I do think our bottom half here is where it starts to differ a bit. So you put Washington at 5. I'm going to go a little bit further than that. I have Washington at 6, and but honestly, I could see them falling to 7 this year, depending on how things really go their way. But we're not going to get into that just yet. I have 5. I have the Isles/Devils. I feel like they could swap. So 5 and 6 is Isles/Devils. I feel like the Isles are built fairly similar to the Rangers. They have a really strong goaltending in Sorokin and Varlamov. Better, honestly, if you want to combine the 2 of them together. I think Varlamov is obviously better than Halak. The defense, they have good top 3 defensemen. They have Pelech, Dobson, and Pollock. So, I mean, they're strong defensively. My question is just the offense and the new coach, really. The Devils, I think, are going to take a big step forward this year. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I know at that 5 spot, they're kind of on that line for the second wild card or not. But I just don't know if they have it yet, which is why I think I give the Isles a slight edge over them, because I think they're more of a playoff team and that can get into the wild card and perform in the playoffs and stuff like that. So, Devils, I have them as that 5 spot. And then I definitely put Isles at the 4th. And then, so I don't know if you want to go to the bottom half of the division now. But
yeah, I am differing. I know, obviously, the Islanders have the best, gold. You could say the best tandem in the league, in the Metro.
Honestly, they might have the best tandem in the league.
Best tandem in the league.
We're being real here.
So, and that's not the problem when you question, because I think I am way lower on the Islanders. Definitely way lower than you are on the Islanders than I am. I have the Devils at 5, like you said. I have Philly at 7. I have the Islanders in dead last. I don't trust I don't trust their goal scoring. They're going to lose games 2-1 because they're not going to be able to score.
You say that, but they have a new coach now, so you hope they're not going to play as defensively. And I mean, so we didn't talk about breakout players yet, but I'll spoil a little bit. I know you went with a bit younger guys, but I actually took Barzal as one of my breakout players this year. Now, that's a little crazy because Barzal had, I think, a point per game season his rookie year, but he hasn't been able to get back to that since. And you can blame it for injuries, the people around him, the coaching, whatever it is. But I think this could be the year finally out of Trotz's defensive stranglehold that he could actually maybe get back to that point per game season. And with that, I don't see why the Isles can't be in that 4th spot, that wild card area.
yeah, I do agree that Barzy definitely can be a breakout, go back to being the Calder, or even better than the Calder season. I just don't trust anybody else in that offense. I mean, I have another guy that I'll get to on my breakout list, but that team is full of a bunch of 37-year-old veteran grit grinders besides him, and then obviously the other guy as one of my breakout candidates. But I think him and Barzal will play great together, but I just don't trust anything else. And yes, they lost Jordan Eberle, Josh Bailey's still hanging on. Obviously, they'll get Anders Lee back, but there's not enough goal scoring in my opinion. They're still kind of built for a Trotz team, even with the new coach being brought in. I just don't trust that Lou did nothing. He didn't try to go out and add at least like an Andre Palat or an actual goal scorer that he can put complement besides Matt.
Johnny.
He tried to get. Did he though, or was he sleeping the whole time?
I don't know. I've heard mixed things. Like the Islanders were around the rumors for like all the entire time. And then there was also like after it was all said and done, and he finally signed with CBJ. Like a couple of days, there was like, yeah. So we were saying the Islanders a lot, but supposedly Lou never actually offered him anything, or even like spoke to him or something like that. Like it was just literally just like smoke, being sent out from whoever, the agent of Johnny or the Islanders organization, whatever it was, just to rise up the price. Maybe I don't know. Apparently, I don't know. So I don't know what to believe there. I feel like with a player like Johnny, I feel like every team, maybe not every team, but teams like the Islanders and in their situation definitely gave a call, whether it was actually legitimate or not. Who knows? But
yeah, and again, but I just don't trust the Islanders. I trust their goaltending. I think their goaltending is great. I think their defense is great. I think they're just going to lose a bunch of games, 3-2, 2-1 kind of games. If Barzell's not scoring, and my breakout candidate, I don't want to spoil, which you can figure out other goal scorer on the New York Islanders. But I just think, again, you got to score more goals, and you have to find it in other ways besides your best player. So for me, I think they're going to just be that last place team. They're going to, especially in the offensive talent in this division, they're the weakest. And maybe they're definitely the best defensive and goaltending, but offensively, they can't keep up with the teams in the division. And then obviously in the other division, if you look at the Atlantic teams and throughout the league, I think it's going to be rough. I think they're going to have to go through a year or two where they got to like revamp this roster to stop Trottifying it and start adapting to today's game and actually getting some actual goal scorers around Matthew Barzal, which they did give him the extension, sadly, for Matt Barzal fans. But yeah, I think we got pretty much the Metro. Obviously, big shocker. I have the Penguins higher. He has the Rangers higher. Big shocker. We'll move to the West because the West sucks, and this is kind of we really don't care if we're honest, but we'll give you at least the rest of the preview of the rest of the league. We'll start in the Central. Obviously, the defending Stanley Cup champ. I think we all have them. I think the playoffs are going to be similar. I think maybe one difference because maybe some youth in the Pacific, and maybe a surprise in the Central, but I'll let you go first. I guess you're 4, and how many of the top 4? Well, obviously you have the 3, but does your 4th place team make the wild card spot?
So my top 4: number 1, Colorado, obvious. Number 2, Wild. I feel like that's also fairly obvious.
Yeah.
Number 3, Nashville. I feel like it might be a bit of a weird one. Okay. But UC Saros. I mean, you know what goalies can do. They push average teams into the playoffs easily, and they added McDonough and someone else. I forget who it was. So I don't know. I expect them to be just a smidge better. And like I said, as long as Saros is playing like Saros, I don't see why they can't make a push for a playoff spot, especially in that division. The 4th team, it's a bit of a flop, and I feel like the 4th and 5th team will also be fighting with the 5th team in the Pacific. I think it's just gonna be all out war for the wild card, basically. So let's give my 4th team for now. St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty similar. I think I still have St. Louis higher, but obviously Colorado, Minnesota, St. Louis, Nashville. Like you said, Saros is great. I think he's better than Binnington. So I wouldn't be surprised if obviously Nashville was higher. But again, I don't trust goalie dependent teams as much as most people do. Again, as great as the goaltender is, he can keep pucks out, but he can't put pucks in the other net. So I do think St. Louis has a little bit more depth. We'll see what happens with Ryan O'Reilly. We'll see in the future what his future looks like. Obviously, a pending UFA. We'll see if they get that extension done. But St. Louis is always consistently in the playoffs. I think Nashville is, again, so we both were shocked that Forsberg didn't even test UFA market and signing that 8-year deal with them to stay. But, again, you have UC Saros, pretty good goaltender to play in front of. Then you go to the bottom half, and then this is where you have some of the dumpster fires in the NHL. I do think Dallas is still great. Obviously, they just got Jason Robertson done. Obviously, they have their goaltender, the young goal. What the hell's his name?
Jake Ottinger.
Jake Ottinger. They got him done this offseason. So Obviously, Miro Heiskanen was got that big deal last year, so they have some talent. They still have Joe Pavelski coming off an All-Star year, but he's an older guy, so how much more gas does he have in the tank? Will Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn ever play hockey again? Or at least consistent hockey ever again? We'll see. But I got them finishing in the 4th spot, batting out and making the playoffs. Winnipeg, I feel so bad for Connor Helbig. He deserves so much better. Get him out of there. Yeah, because there's literally nothing else in Winnipeg. Just trade Pierre-Luc Dubois already. He's already said he doesn't want to be there. So just trade him at the deadline to get a couple assets for him. And then you go to the dumpster fires, Arizona. They're playing in a college arena. Like nobody's. You should have disbanded the franchise. Matthews isn't going there. Bettman, stop hanging on to this thread that this is the only reason you kept the damn team available because your prey is for Matthews to go.
Until Arizona offers Matthews whatever the max contract is that year. I think it's supposed to be 16.9. All right, yeah. Just you wait.
yeah, Austin, go play in front of 1,000 people every night. Yeah, or just literally go sign with the Rangers at that point if you want to play against nobody. And in Chicago, which
that's the Islanders. All right, Rangers got a lot of people in the building. Islanders don't. They have to sell their tickets for $5.
$5. And then you go to Chicago, which they paid Seth Jones. That's their fault. And this is what you get for paying Seth Jones that contract. You just turned to garbage. Trade Kane.
Yeah, not anything else.
You can trade Taves, but nobody wants him. But Kane, get him out of there. You want Jason Zucker and a couple picks? You can have it and trade him to Pittsburgh. But again, what do you have the bottom half of that dumpster fire of a division? I think we both have a pretty similar looking bottom.
So yeah, I have Dallas. That's another team though. I was saying that could be competing for the wild card. I have Winnipeg, then Chicago and Arizona. So not too much different. I think Chicago could actually be worse than Arizona this year, depending on how things shake up in Arizona. So I don't know. That bottom half of the division is garbage outside of Dallas. Winnipeg, honestly, no, not even the bottom half. Just the last two are really garbage. Winnipeg's not good, but Dallas definitely a step above them. So I don't. There's definitely some gaps. There's definitely some gaps in that bottom 4. There's a gap between Dallas and Winnipeg, and then there's a gap between Winnipeg and Chicago and Arizona.
So that division, I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado just wins the precedence just on beating the hell out of those bottom 2 teams. 3 teams if you count Winnipeg. But
just sweeping every team in that division.
Just sweeping everyone in the bottom 3. Let's move to the Pacific, the worst coast. Obviously, I still have Calgary at the top. I did like what they got for Kachuk. I mean, obviously losing Johnny Gaudreau sucks. They did sign. One to sign Kadri? They did sign Kadri. So they replaced the production of Gaudreau with Kadri, so getting some center depth. Obviously, Sean Monahan. If Kadri can be consistent, yes. But now he's going to be playing with Jonathan Huberdeau, and I really like those two potentially playing together. They added the defenseman, Florida. Uyghur. Added Mackenzie Uyghur. Obviously, Jacob Markstrom was in the it's called the Verizon. Thanks, Mets fan. The Vezina Trophy conversation last year. So if he continues to play good, they've got a great team in front of them. They obviously have Darryl Sutler, one of the best coaches in the league. So you got them at the top of the division. Then you got Edmonton. Definitely improved because actually they have a goaltender, unlike the 2 they've had or trotted out the last 5 years. If he can stay healthy and consistent, but. Not Eric Campbell, that's the Mets player. Jack Campbell, obviously going to be given a 5x5 to be the goaltender to protect give Connor McDavid a chance to get to the Stanley Cup final. Spoilers, maybe he does. Then you go to Vegas. Obviously, the team everybody hates, the team that plays with unlimited cap spacing in franchise and just goes loving all the stars. They just paid Riley Smith. They paid Marchessault. They've got Markson. They've got way too much talent. They don't have any draft picks. They're like the LA Rams. They don't care about them picks. So I have Vegas back in the playoffs. And then my last spot, last team that does make the playoffs of mine, the LA Kings. They're starting to build something. And obviously I did trash them a little bit. I'll be like, the opening night, they're the team that plays on opening night, but they are starting to build a nice little young core. Obviously Philip Deneau. They have Quentin Byfield probably going to make the opening day roster. So you're starting to see the Kings start to maybe bounce back into the playoffs. They're going to go far. But again, the bottom half of the Pacific is young and Vancouver, but there is there's a little bit of upside in San Jose at the bottom. So the top of the Pacific, are we agreeing on the same wavelength, or are you going with one of the more upstarts team instead of LA in that 4th spot?
I mean, I find it funny. Outside of the Metro, we've been in pretty much agreement outside of one flip. So the Atlantic we flipped, I think it was Boston and Detroit or Tampa, whatever it was, and then the
Yeah.
Central we flipped the Nashville and St. Louis. Well, this one we flipped LA and Vegas. I have LA at the 3rd spot and Vegas at the 4th spot.
They have too much high-end talent, bro. They got to make the playoffs.
Hold on. The problem with Vegas is they got no goalie.
Carey Price is coming, bro. They're going to trade
Price is out for the season. They got no goalie.
Hey, no. They'll get a goalie because they'll get $10.5 million of LTIR money to go get the goalie at the deadline and trade like 2029 first-round picks to get the goaltender.
They need a goalie now. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I have them making the playoffs, right? They're that first wild card team for me. I have them making the playoffs. But, like, at the same time, that goalie situation is non-existent. I would not be surprised if they somehow don't make it either again. But like you said, there's just so much talent. How do you not have them make it?
They got to win games 7-6. They got to win games. Just score more goals than you give up.
Really
don't look at their goal differential. Probably not going to be pretty. The Corsi's god awful. The bottom half. So I guess let's see if we agree on the bottom half. Obviously, there's an upstart team. There's the second, the newest franchise, and then the Sharks and Vancouver. Let's see how do you align that bottom half?
So the bottom half, I have these 4 teams going into the Central fighting for that last wild card. I have St. Louis, Dallas, Anaheim, and Vancouver fighting for that last wild card spot. And then Seattle and San Jose at the bottom. I think Seattle will be better this year. I have San Jose up below them. I think Seattle will be better. Don't think they're fighting for a wild card just yet. Maybe another year or two. But I do think Grubauer will be better. I think that team will be better. The young guys will take a better step and all that stuff. But yeah, so I have St. Louis, Dallas from the Central, and then Anaheim and Vancouver fighting for that last spot. Anaheim 5th, Vancouver 6th, and then Seattle 7th.
All right, cool. So yeah, I have, like we said, I have Anaheim again on that fringe with Dallas and Nashville. Obviously, they brought in Frank Petrano. They have Zegers, but the injury to Zegers hurts a little bit. They for some reason gave up Sonny Milano, but then he got cut from his POT. So maybe they were right.
I heard when after he got cut from Calgary that apparently he's like the worst person in the locker room to ever exist. So I think it's just a locker room and attitude thing more than anything else, which is a real shame because he's a good hockey player. Like he's a good middle six winger, and a lot of teams I'm sure would love to have him. But at the end of the day, you can't be can't be screwing around in a locker room or whatever it was that he was doing.
So he'll be on a line with Evander Kane in Edmonton.
He'll be either in Edmonton with Evander Kane or he'll be in Philly with the rest of the dirtbags.
Or the Philly. That would also make sense. But like I said, they brought in Ryan Strome as well. So they brought in the Rangers depth from their playoff run. Took all of the Rangers depth. But they still obviously Zegers. They have Troy Terry, who was an absolute beast that nobody talks about. Obviously, they gives all the publicity to Zegers. Troy Terry might actually be a better player. But that's a conversation we'll have down.
A lot of people were talking about him until Zegers decided to do the Michigan like twice in a week.
Exactly.
The pass over the net. A lot of people were talking about Terry for like a week there. All right, and then
for a week
decided to do some
and then everybody forgot he existed.
ESPN was talking all that crap. So yeah.
Then we go to Vancouver. I do think they're going to sell at the deadline. Trade JT Miller, please. They got Brock Besser extended, which I was genuinely shocked. I thought they would just let that qualifying offer hit and then they play the 1 year out, but they gave him a 6x3. No, 3x6. They wish they could give him a 6x3. Seattle, like you said, I do think they're improved. They brought in Oliver Bjorkstrand. They started to bring a little bit of talent in. Matty Beniers going to be playing. Shane Wright as well. Right? Shane Wright went to Seattle. So they're starting to see some young talent influx. We'll see if the goaltender they brought in, who'd they draft? The guy from Florida. The guy sucked. Uyghur? No.
No. They still have Grubauer.
Grubauer. My bad. Grubauer. Yes.
That was from Colorado, though.
Colorado. But yeah, who's the guy they brought in from Florida? The guy that was the first pick. But it doesn't matter. But they have, I would expect, a bounce back from their goaltending situation. And then San Jose, they just don't have anything to look forward to. Like they're still paying Eric.
Traded back or whatever.
No, he's in Florida. Yeah, Spencer Knight's in Florida. He's there taking Bobrovsky's job.
Are you talking about Joey Dackard from Ottawa?
No. Oh, what the hell is his name? The dude that had like that one good playoff run. Oh, what the hell is his name? You're really gonna make me look this up, Midge.
I don't know who you're talking about. Bennington? Man hasn't played good since his cup run.
Where the hell is it cracking? It was like the original draft. What the hell was his name? Seattle Kraken. Expansion draft. What the hell is his name? Who? Where is it?
I don't
What?
know if you know that. It's Streaker.
Yeah, hold up.
He played
Chris
for the
Streaker. Yes,
Bucks.
Chris
Yeah.
Streaker. Yeah. He had like that one good like month and a half stretch, and he got paid like $5 million or what it was from Seattle. Didn't make sense, but yeah, that's pretty much all our season predictions from how the standings are going to turn out and whatever. We'll see. We'll get. I hope for our cup predictions before we break down the Penguins and our breakout candidates, and then you're doing the Rangers. Final four. So you have your Eastern Conference Final and your West Conference Final. I'll let you go first, and then who wins the Stanley Cup?
I mean, I feel like the Western is the easiest one to do right now. It's gonna be Calgary, Colorado.
Okay.
I feel like that's the easiest. I mean, they were the two top teams in the division. I think they're the two best teams in the West, and I think Calgary's probably the best team in the league, honestly, going into the year on paper. So
Okay.
I think Calgary, Colorado is fair to play. And then on the Eastern side, I mean, how can you not choose Tampa until like they lose? How can you not choose Tampa? And then who do I choose for the other one though? I mean, I want to say. I mean, I feel like it should have been Carolina. Like, I don't know. I feel like the Rangers they stuck away a little bit there. I feel like Carolina should have won probably. I'm not gonna lie, but hear me out. I think Carolina. I didn't really say this before, but I feel like Carolina might not care as much about the regular season this year and kind of go like some of those other teams and slow down and because I feel like what maybe happened to them against the Rangers is that they got gassed. They play a very high intensity, in your face, fast paced game, and I wonder if they started to get gassed in the playoffs there, which is why the Rangers maybe were able to pull that series away from them. So I wonder if they're going to slow it down, and then I don't see if they play the same way that they did last year. I don't see why they can't be in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's Tampa, but I'm going to go Calgary, Tampa in my final.
And then your champion is
Calgary.
Calgary. Okay.
Yeah.
I just laugh. I have the Kraken's original expansion draft, and I'm like, how many current Leafs are on the team that are on the Leafs right now or on the freaking roster? I'm like, Jesus, there's like 4 Leafs on that roster currently. They either got PTOs or actually are on the roster. Yeah, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I know you went pretty basic. I'm still gonna go kind of basic to an extent. I'm gonna go with Tampa, obviously winning in Colorado. Those are two in the Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals. I'm gonna differ, and I just realized it's kind of the past and the future to an extent. I got obviously Tampa, Pittsburgh, and then Tampa wins because it's just Tampa. I think Pittsburgh tries to have one last run and one of their last runs of the last 2 years, I would 2 to 3 years, and they get lucky and then they find a way to face Tampa. And I could see them beating because they have played Tampa great over the last couple of years. Obviously, we'll see how they play this year. So I do think they can beat them, but I'll still say Tampa because until you're beaten, until the freaking the devil is dead, you got to pick them. And then I got Colorado. You had Calgary. I didn't want a rematch from last year, and I hope Jack Campbell can't be worse than what's it called that the Edmonton Oilers put out before that. So I got Edmonton, Colorado, and I have Edmonton being different and matching up with Tampa, and Tampa slaughters.
Honestly, I could see that. That's a very real thing for me. Like I could see Edmonton being in a final, but I would take Tampa over Edmonton.
Yeah, I could see Connor and Leon just pulling everything, and especially now having an actual goaltender would take some pressure off them. But
do you have a hot take for this year? I have a hot take.
I can think of one while you talk about yours.
Hot take: Colorado finishes like third in the division, and they lose in the first round.
Whoa. Okay.
Georgiev. I have been a Georgiev supporter as a Ranger fan, all right? But I've seen the moments where he's literally, as a Ranger, he's been doo-doo, average, well above average. I've seen all 3 parts of him. And every single time he has talked about how he needs consistent playing time. And to be fair, the numbers prove that when he has consistent playing time, he's well. However, playing 3-game stretches and being a starter, playing 55, 60, 65 games is completely different. And as you can tell from previous predictions in the standings, goalies make or break teams for me. If Georgiev cannot live up to his word where he says he needs consistent playing time, I think that team falls dramatically. Because Francouz, I don't think is any better. So unless they go out and get a goalie, that team can be in some trouble. If Georgiev can't back his word.
A hot take. I really don't got none. I mean, I could be.
I mean, it's not really a hot take.
I mean, it's not a hot. You know what?
Colorado just won the cup, so I feel like it's a little bit of a hot take. You know?
Yeah. You know what? Why not? My hot take is the Toronto Maple Leafs make the goddamn second round. That's finally, dude.
That's not
because
take,
now they have.
One. That's an unspoken one.
No, they can do it because they have a goaltender that's actually been out of the first round and actually won some playoff rounds.
Yeah, but the thing is, he can't stay healthy. He's been inconsistent for the most part when he is.
Just pretend you're in a black and orange jersey in 2017, and you'll go far.
Black and orange? What are we talking about? Philly?
Black and gold, whatever. Pretend you're seeing the black and orange jerseys, and you're just dominating like you always do. So I guess technically we'll go to breakout before we break our individual teams down, and then we'll go to the last couple things, not hockey, on the show today's show. Some breakout candidates. And breakout candidates are not rookies. So the people being like, oh, rookies are just making their statement to the league. They're not breakouts. They're just, hey, welcome to my debut to the NHL. This is what I can be and now you can project what I could be in the future or fall out. So I will go back and forth here. I have 3. I believe he has 3. I'm genuinely shocked if there's not a certain Ranger on here because I almost added one, but I'll let you go first to start it off. Who you got is your first breakout candidate for the 2022-2023 season?
Okay, 1, I know the first player I'm going to say. I know he's on your list, so we can talk about it together. 2, I will talk about the Rangers players. I didn't put any on my list just because, I don't know. It's the Rangers. I didn't want to talk about them right now. I can talk about them when we talk about them. So, I don't know. My first player, I already said one of them before, but I'll come back around to him. So I'm going to start with Cole Caulfield. From Montreal Canadiens. I have 2 Montreal Canadiens on this list. 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I mean, you want to break Cole down, and then I'll obviously, as a simp for Cole Caulfield, I'll go off.
I mean, maybe you should break him down. You've known this guy since he was drafted.
Pretty much. Yeah,
so hyped.
I was hyped when he was playing in the USA. It was like, holy, this kid's gonna be nice. And then he was projected when the Penguins were drafted. Like when the Penguins had the pick, I'm like, yo, the Penguins can get this kid. Please, he fills the Jake Gensel. Like literally, he's Jake Gensel. And
you were so hyped. You were like,
I was
let's go.
So hyped for this kid.
And then even in Montreal, when he got drafted by Montreal, you were so excited for his debut.
I was, and then hey,
so I feel like you should be the one talking about him.
Yeah, again, last year he did have a good season. He didn't break any barriers. I think that's kind of where my milestone thing is. Last year, 48 points, 67 games, 27 goals, 21 goals. I think he's easily pushing past 35 goals this year. Definitely could see that him putting, especially now with Martin St. Louis was still the coach of Montreal. They gave him the extension, and when he got called,
seemed like a god.
And when he came in, Cole went nuts, and I'm like, yep, this is the guy I wanted to see the Penguins draft. Yeah, that guy. And him being a full-time coach, and him knowing him as a coach, being a smaller guy in the NHL, he knows what Cole's going through, and those two guys together. Cole has been he started sparking ever since Marty took over, but I think he can break that 35 goals mark, pushing close to 70 points this year. Obviously, he doesn't have much talent around him. I guess you could put him and Suzuki together, have fun. They have young talent. But they don't have
Hold on. To say that Canadians don't have talent, they have a lot of talent. It's just not necessarily refined. It's young. They have a lot of talent on that team, though. All right, it's scary. All right.
Again, there's a lot of they have young talent, but there's still question marks if they are that.
They're question marks, but they got talent. All right?
They have young talent. They have upside. They have upside. I think that's the word we're looking for. But I think Cole, if you gave him a legit number 1 center, which I don't think in Suzuki maybe, but if you gave him a legit number 1 center, that could be dangerous, and maybe that's what Montreal's thinking down the line, getting him a number 1 center. But for me, Cole Caulfield, one of my favorite players and always will be. I only probably the problem is that the Habs don't have any cool jerseys. Maybe I'll get that blue one they have. I would get a Cole Caulfield jersey. They just don't have any good jerseys. So, anything else you want to tack on to Cole, and then you can go to someone else if you want.
No, that's about it for Cole. Yeah, like I said, I kind of agree with you. Marty St. Louis was a godsend for this team and for him specifically, and I think he's going to do great things now that St. Louis is the full-time coach and has full support with him. So my second player, said him before, Barzell. He had over a point per game. I think he had 85 and 82 in his rookie year and has struggled to get that since. He's also had some health issues, hasn't played like a full 82, I don't think, since like his second year or something like that, or like even like 75 plus. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, he's really been struggling. His numbers have gotten worse as well. I mean, like I said, his games played has also not been great. He's been had some health issues. But yeah, I think a new coach. I know we were talking about before. You know, he doesn't have a lot around him, but at the same time, I mean, those guys, Lee, Bailey, Nelson, they're 50, high 50 point guys consistently. That's enough for a guy like Barzell with as much talent and speed and offense creation that he can do on his own. That he should be able to get some good numbers, and I definitely think he could return. I would like to see him return to at least a point per game, and I think this is a big year for him. He just got that contract; it's time to prove it. You know, put the money where the mouth is.
Yeah, and I guess keeping that on the Islander theme, personally, I think that could definitely help him and should be playing on his line is Oliver Wahlstrom. The guy came in last year, only played 73 games, didn't put the craziest amount of points, 24 points, 13 goals, 15 assists, but Trotz had him buried like on the third and fourth line. Like the fact that you have one of the more highly touted prospects in the Islander system, and the fact that he just was like, Trott's like, nope, going to play the kill in the fourth line, and he's going to have to play defense. And he did do a decent job playing on that bottom six, but he's kind of like Barzell, where he needs to just be unleashed, let him use his speed and skill and score goals, because he's done it all throughout his junior career as a kid, as a prospect. So I definitely think if you were to pair him, Barzell, and I guess Anders Lee, if you want to keep kind of an enforcer around the two, or like a power forward to play with the two, Lee can also produce some points. I think that would be a decent line combination to put those three together and let Barzell and Wahlstrom just kind of skate, and especially when you have Dobson and Pelech and Pollock, like locking down the defensive core and letting those two guys just be the burners they can be, could be maybe a major upside for Oliver Wahlstrom.
So my third guy, though, going back to Montreal, and you were saying the Suzuki maybe being the 1C, and while looking at the roster right now, it's a lot of young guys. I don't think they have that true 1C, but you hope that maybe Suzuki can be a 1C. But another guy that I think could be potentially a 1C. Mm-hmm. Or even be a good pairing for Cole Caulfield, who has a lot of skill, or is shown to have a lot of skill, but he had some health issues. And, you know, in a toxic organization of Chicago, Kirby Dach. He has yet to break the 30-point threshold. You know, I think he broke his hand, whatever it was, or wrist, whatever it was, a year or two ago. Then, you know, all this stuff around Chicago, all the way they were treating the young players. Like, look how Dylan Strome got treated and all that stuff. It was a toxic organization. He's in a new place now. He has Marty St. Louis, who seems to thrive and encourage skill. You know, he's a bit bigger. He's not like Cole Caulfield. He's not like Marty St. Louis. But at the same time, Marty St. Louis is a smaller guy, and I think he could teach him how to use his size properly and effectively, even though he's significantly bigger. And we saw what he did in juniors and all that stuff. He has the skill, he has the talent, and putting him next to someone like Cole Caulfield or whoever else with that young list. I mean, they got Slavkowski, who they just drafted. They got Suzuki. They got Cole Caulfield. There's a lot of skill on there. I don't think there's any problems finding someone to play with him. And I think that could be a really good turnaround year for him. And, you know, definitely should break the 30-point threshold. I could see him pushing maybe more to 50 if, you know, St. Louis could do the same thing to him that he did with Cole Caulfield, you know?
Yeah, Kirby Dach was on my list of potentially being brought up, so I'm kind of happy you did. Like you said, it was a weird trade deadline because there were some rumors the Pens had some interest, but then the price went too high and they kind of dipped at the ability, and obviously they wanted to draft Owen Pickering, which they wanted to get some defensive prospects. But my last guy, former number 2 overall pick now, it's Tim Stützle in Ottawa. Again, kind of like with Cole, you started to see him produce in the NHL, but I think now that you're starting to see some, obviously Ottawa bringing in some talent, bringing in Claude Giroux, bringing in some more players to play with them. For his career last year, he had 79 games, only 58 points, 22 goals, 36 assists. I think his goal numbers could go up. I think his points numbers could break that 70, 75-point mark, which, again, could be, you know, hitting 20, 25, maybe even 30 goals, especially now with a little more ice, a little more talent in Ottawa. Maybe can open up the ice a little bit more for Tim. But, again, could be a quality national, you know, breakout year. I'm not saying he's going to go off for 100. You know, none of these guys, maybe Cole Caulfield, but none of these guys are going to break that 100-point mark. You know, you want a good jump from points as he's progressed. And definitely, Stützle's progressed pretty well throughout his first couple of years. I think this could be a year
points in your second year, I would say, is pretty
damn good. And then if you jump up to that 75, 80-point mark, and obviously maybe push to 20, 25, 30 goal mark, that's kind of where I see it. And then you have your last guy, and then we'll break our individual teams down.
Cole.
You had Cole. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess there you go. Yeah, because if you want,
actually, I could talk about the Rangers here because you were talking about a Ranger. Can I just ask who were you thinking about putting on? Because I think a lot of people have been talking about him, but I don't think I agree with
I'm
it.
not talking about who's everyone's talking about. I know who everybody's talking about.
Who were you?
I
Who were you
I
talking about?
think it's about the other guy who's getting confidence in his shot again, and that is Capo Caco, the guy I
Oh, so
blessed.
we're on the same page.
The guy I blessed to your organization, by the way. He can tell that story down the line. I blessed Capo Caco to the New York Rangers. You're welcome. But
So
yeah,
we're on the same page. We're on the same
yes.
page because a
Everyone,
lot of
yeah,
people have been talking about Laugh, but I feel like
yes,
it's Kako this year. And don't get me wrong,
yes.
I want Laugh to break out too, but my eyes are on Kako right now. Like I feel like he's the guy. Like out of between the two of them, I feel like Kako is the guy that's going to break out this year right
And
now.
he's playing on the first line, according to everyone reports today.
Yeah,
That
it looks
he's
like he's
playing with
playing on the first line to
Mika.
start.
Yeah, he's playing with Mika, and I forgot who was on the Mika and Kreider on that first line.
Yeah.
So he's going to get first line minutes. Problem is he going to be able to play on the first line? Which, again, if he has confidence in his shot, Mika's going to shoot. Kreider is going to sit in the front of the net. What is his role going to be on that line? Obviously, maybe you could put him in the OB position, and then you could put Kreider in front and let Mika be pass first. But, does he fit with that pass first mentality? He wants to take them slappers. Obviously, you can work it through Fox as well. But I do think Kako is the guy everyone's kind of forgetting about. Everyone's giving the Lafreniere hype, and obviously, rightfully so. The number one overall pick had a lot of hype coming out of 2021, but had an all right rookie season. But I do think Kako is getting kind of underlooked, especially with Lafreniere. And he's kind of the more important piece. Obviously, with Lafreniere, after your big four offensively, he's kind of the next tier with Lafreniere that has to step up. So, on that note, speaking of the Rangers, I guess I'll let him go first, break down his team, then I will break down mine, and then we'll go to the other sports, and then we'll probably call it here. Range breakdown. Obviously, chance run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Not going to say if you were bailed or not, but you could say that to an extent. Gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, lose to Tampa Bay, which most teams always do. A lot of free agents. They replaced the two holes that they needed, but didn't replace the rest of the guys at the deadline that they traded for. What are the lines? Do you trust it? Do you trust the kids, the defense? Who's that third pair lefty? I think both of us have a third pair lefty competition. And do you trust, Georgiev, and obviously how far can Shesterkin take him?
Honestly, we're at that point. I know last year we had a big year. We went probably further than most people were expecting us to and all that stuff, and the trade deadline with Cup and Vetrano and all that. But no, I think we're at the point where you have to trust the kids. We're at that point in the cap crunch where we need to trust the kids. We need to trust the people that are cap controlled. It's time for them to shine. I mean, they're still young. Kako's 22. Heedle's 23. Lafreniere's like 21, 20, whatever. Maybe they might be a year younger. I don't know. Something like that. They still got time. They still got time to grow. They still got time to get better. But definitely at that point where we need to start seeing something out of them, and we really would like to see something out of them. We already just talked about Kako, how me and you are both kind of on the same page where eyes are on him a little bit for at least the two of us. Obviously, you expect Laffy to hopefully be better. I expect he to be better with the way they all ended the season and had the playoffs. I'm feeling pretty good. I think on paper this team is better opening night than last year's team opening night. However, if you on paper, trade deadline team was definitely better than this team opening night with Kopp and Petrano in it. Kravtsov, I think, will be a big key part of how this team does, because if he can come in and be the shooter that he was trying to be and that he was in Russia, then I think and Kako can play in that first line, or Laffy moves up into that first line, whatever it is. Then I think we're just fine. I think VC being in the bottom six is fine. Blaze out, I think, for like the first week, but I think he's a really good bottom six forward. So I think the depth will be there as long as the young guys can perform, and that's really what it is. It's about the young guys. Obviously, if the young guys don't, especially like Krav or Kako, and then I think we're gonna have a hole on the right wing, top six. So that will have to definitely be filled. Thankfully, we got the extra first from Nils, so that's at least something to hope about. But hopefully, you can use it for reassurances, or maybe even save it and use it to draft. This is a very deep draft. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Defense. You were talking about the third lefty. You were saying it's a bit of competition. It really isn't. It's confirmed it's Jones at this point, and I wouldn't be surprised with Tenorti being claimed off waivers today if they might go out and try to trade for like a vet D-man that they can call up mid-season if they need to for like injury purposes and stuff like that. Trocheck replacing Strome. I'm also a little worried about that. I think that's another key piece. It's the second line, really, that I'm worried about because Kravtsov didn't have the most promising preseason, but I don't really take too much in the preseason. So I'm really more worried about the regular season games, the games that count. Trocheck, though, wasn't as good as a fit as Strome seemed to be with Panarin, but it's still very early. Like I said, it's just preseason, so we'll see what happens. And the fact that I'm saying that really hurts because, like,
I'm gonna clip this out.
Forever.
Yeah, I just want to. This will be clipped out because I said the same thing to a certain person who's probably watching this, and he said, "Oh no, we got rid of Mr. Net guy. Oh, Trocheck's gonna fill right in." Yeah,
Trocheck is better than Strome. Like by all
that's
accounts,
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I said.
Trocheck needs to fit with Panarin. If Trocheck's better than Strome, great. But if he doesn't fit with Panarin, it doesn't mean anything, So that's my two big question marks. Really, it's Kravtsov and Trocheck. I'm fine with everyone else. I feel like we're at the point where we have to trust the kids. I think this team will make the playoffs, and who knows what happens in the playoffs. And really, like, LA back in 2014 went from barely squeezing in to sweeping like 3 out of 4 teams and winning the cup. We last year, I think, were like expecting to maybe be like a wild card, a third team, and then we made it to the ECF. I don't really care where we finish the regular season. I just expect this team to make the playoffs, and whatever happens after that happens. I think Halak will probably be a better backup than Georgiev, honestly, because I don't think Georgiev is meant to be a backup, and I hope he plays well in Colorado. And what I said before about my hot take with Colorado is inaccurate. I hope he performs well. But yeah, no, I don't know. I feel pretty good about the team. I definitely think we might try to get another defenseman, considering we lost Tenorti, even though I don't think Tenorti was really good, so I'm not really crying about it. But yeah,
so you're telling me Libor Hayek is not going to be on this team?
No, I'm telling you, Libor Hayek is just going to sit down and get a paycheck every week like he did last year and maybe play 5 games.
Are you sure, man? That guy is an elite defender. Are you sure you don't want to play Libor Hayek every day? Please.
I am sure. I am sure.
He doesn't cause any, heart attacks or anything around the NHL, so why not? Shifting to the black and gold. Actually, I know preseason doesn't matter, but it is key for the Pens in the fact that the second line is actually playing the way it was supposed to play. One, Jason Zucker is actually healthy, big key, and he might actually fit next to Evgeny Malkin, which again has been the problem with Pittsburgh. Who the hell plays with Gino? Everyone we bring in to play with Gino goes and plays with Sid and doesn't want to play with Gino anymore. So
maybe it's a Gino problem. Maybe you guys.
It is at this point. This guy's still a point per game player, but just nobody wants to play with him. I miss Phil Kessel. But obviously the top line is the top 6 is going to carry this team, and Jake, Sid, Raquel is going to stay together. Raquel came in and played absolutely brilliantly, better than I even when we got him at the deadline. I was ecstatic thinking this is the type of guy I wanted on Sid's right, and he came in and played better than even I thought he would play. And obviously the duo of themselves, you could put them with anybody, and those two guys, meaning Jake and Sid, are just going to produce. If it's Rust, if it's Raquel, they're just going to make money. But again, the preseason, which again shouldn't take a lot out of it, but you still want to see the guys play well. That second line has played amazing. Zucker's actually provided some value. Obviously, Rust with the extension, I believe in Brian. Big game, Brian Rust. And Gino, again, it's with health for Gino because he's still, when he's on the ice, he's going point per game. It's just a problem. How many games is he going to play? And will he still produce? The third line, Kasperi Kapanen's still here. For some reason, my favorite. I made an apology video after he actually had a really good year, and then Benny went back turning to shit. So, not a fan. But Jeff Carter, again, Jeff is there. Not the third line center I wanted, but they gave him an extension. Thanks, Hextall.
You don't want Super Jeff?
I don't want Super Dad. Dannon Heinen's actually had another great camp, and he had a pretty good season last year. Scored a couple goals against the Rangers, which, again, surprisingly, because he didn't do anything in the regular season. He scored like 6 goals in the regular season. He scored like 2 in this. The Rangers played. Like, where was this? Then the fourth line, and that's kind of the point of the Pens where you know who the fourth line center is, which is obviously Teddy Bluger. It's going to be who is on his wings. Brock McGinn looks to have the left side clean. Then it's the third. It's that right side they brought in Ryan Poehling with the Jeff Petrie trade. He's played pretty well. Josh Archibald has played freaking good in the preseason, so now he's in there. And then you have my personal choice, who I hope in a month or two is that right side, and that's Samuel Poulin. He was the last cut from making the team. The former first-round pick. He had a pretty decent preseason. I kind of would love to see him on that fourth line, bottom right pair, right wing on the fourth line next to Bluger. And if maybe switch Kapanen and get him on the third line, if Cappy does not know how to shoot the puck, because he's like Carl Hagelin. He's fast, but he can't keep puck on stick. I would love to see, especially with Jeff Carter, you need to play with speed. If Poulin can come in and play on that right side and provide any more offense next to more than Kapanen, switch Kapanen and Poulin on the fourth line and third line, respectively. Then you go to the defense, which, God, there's so much money. Obviously,
just question marks.
Just defense. Dumo Letang is staying together, even though I want Dumo traded. He's a UFA. They're thinking of extending him. Of course they are. Letang, obviously, back is just going to be Letang until he's going to be and then he'll be LTIR money at the end of the contract. That's what I'm expecting. Marcus Pettersson somehow survived being rumored in trades for like 9 months. His buddy mate is gone, which I don't love, but Marino is gone, and he's going to be replaced with Jeff Petrie, the ghost of Jeff Petrie that just haunted Ron Hextall and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now he's playing right D, probably going to be the second power play quarterback. I didn't understand the deal because they still really haven't figured out the extra contract they traded, which though we'll get to the question of how they got underneath the cap to be able to play on Thursday, which has got Penguins Twitter absolutely on fire. And then, like we said, the third pair, lefty, is the question mark, and it's going to POJ. And it's not because of playing. It's because they needed to put Ty Smith down in the minors so they can actually be cap compliant for Thursday. And all of Penguins Twitter is like, why the hell is Ty Smith, who actually played well in the preseason, scored some beautiful goals. Again, was an actually great skater. He's actually providing some points, which again, from defenseman you love. Jan Ruda is going to play on the right side, which they gave him a 3-year deal because he's a right shot defenseman. But I do think POJ, which they also when you said for the Rangers was offered all 31 teams, no one took POJ, which surprised me. But I do like that he's going to get the chance. How long? That's going to be determined. We all know Marcus Pettersson's probably going to there's going to be an injury on the defense, and then that will open up the time and cap space for POJ and Ty Smith to both be on the roster. But for right now, POJ's got a chance, and I've been banging the drum that they should have just cleaned out a lefty and just given the job and not acquire Ty Smith. But Ty Smith played well, so we'll give it a chance. But the left side is still clogged. I wouldn't mind if they were to move. I guess the Raiders just did choke because Mets fan will not shut up. POJ would hopefully we'll see if he takes the opportunity and runs with it, playing with Jan Ruda. And then the same tandem it's been for the last 3 years is Jari and Smith. Jari extension talks have started. We'll see if they get it done. And so that's, and then the extra, like I said, Poulin's going to be the biggest question mark is when he going to be in the lineup. Josh Archibald, again, is battling with Ryan Poulin for that bottom pair right wing spot, good power play or penalty kill kind of guy. And then obviously Ruido's that extra spare on that right side because the Penguins need like 9 defensemen because that's what we do. I don't get it. Defense wins championships, I guess, and just having 9 defensemen. Cool. We're gonna play one on the right side at this point. But yeah, that's the Pens, that's the Rangers. Like we said, we both expect playoff teams. I wish that the team is gonna look different at the deadline, but they don't really have any cap space, so I wouldn't expect Jason Zucker. But
don't forget my cap lesson that I gave you last year, 2 years ago, about the accruing cap space. You'll have more than you think. You'll probably have like 3-4 mil. All right.
Again, Jason Zucker will be great off this team, but he's playing good. If he plays good, he can shut me up, so I can make an apology video, and then him to leave in free agency and go somewhere else, please. All right, so we got a full hour just talking hockey, but we do have 2 other little non-hockey things. Which again, this is going to be pretty much everything I want to talk about. I don't know how much Jimmy's going to talk about these 2 topics, but he can say his piece if he does. Obviously, I am wearing it. Bray Wyatt is back. Obviously, the Fiend has returned, and it's not fully as the Fiend. We got a very Bray Wyatt type return with all the cinematics and the puppets being now brought to life. And now he's back. He did not show up tonight on Raw. He'll be on Friday, which they did. They just showed he'll be on Friday Night SmackDown. So we'll see where that goes. Maybe the next episode we'll break down and see what his first feud is. But definitely something a lot of wrestling fans, including myself, have been clamoring for. When is Bray coming back? And when this whole White Rabbit thing started, we all kind of said that's Bray. It's Bray. It's Bray. Everybody's like, no, everybody's WWE's trying. It's Bray. Like it's Bray, and the QR codes and all that, and it was built up. And Hunter is doing something that Vince never did. Is if he built up a surprise, you actually love the surprise, and he doesn't. It's hornswoggle. Like, no, you actually get what you want, and this has been what's great with the Hunter regime. You're starting to see obviously all of his guys like Johnny Gargano. Maybe potentially Andrade coming back, Malachi Black potentially as well. But you're starting to see all of his favorites being pushed and given the opportunities that we all knew they could do in NXT. Finally given. He's not getting Adam Cole because he is in AEW for like 10 years. So you're not getting my guy. Please, Tony. One, Adam, please get healthy. And two, Tony, can we get him back on television when he is? Please, I miss him, especially when you don't have Kenny in the Bucks and Punk and everybody fighting each other. The only guy that seems to unite the locker room is Adam Cole at this point.
Punk said, yeah, Adam Cole, he's a good guy. I just want him to get better.
Like, literally, just get him back at this point.
He made it a point to say how nice of a guy Cole is, and he just hopes to get better. So that should be testament to Cole's personality in the locker room.
Like, just get him back. Like, ever since Cole got hurt, Forbidden Door, the locker room went to shit. Eddie's fighting Sammy. Sammy's fighting Andrade. Punk's fighting everybody. Hell, at this point, you got more interest in the backstage politics and the real stuff in the ring. Even though the stuff in the ring is amazing, cannot wait for MJF to win the title.
At this point, they should literally just set cameras up and have their backstage fights be the real fights. Don't even
at this point,
we all know. Real. Let this just be real. Don't why stage it. Let it just be real.
And we all know Brandon Cutler has the fight between Punk and the Bucks, and his buddy on BT on like his camera somewhere. Release the footage, Cutler. We all know you got it. Release it. We all want to see the fight, but obviously the lawsuit as we wait for obviously Adam Cole. But yet MJF and Mox still carrying the company. Jericho actually having fun and kind of as much as I don't love the Jericho stuff, I am intrigued in him kind of destroying Ring of Honor. And him and Danielson are going to be they're making their debut in Canada, and the fact that we're getting Jericho and Danielson on TV again should be fun. Obviously, again, MJF being the big key and waiting for him to win that AEW title and take the company and pay the man. And Tony, please don't let him go to WWE, please. I cannot deal if MJF goes to WWE. Please don't pay the man. Pay the man with his money. And yeah, so the last thing, unless you want anything Bray wrestling, I know you're not watching as much for me not there.
I watched the clips you said. I mean, I love Bray from the bit of wrestling that I do watch. So, I'm excited to see him back and what they do with him,
Yeah, so maybe he'll start watching more because we're doing this. But yeah, last thing, because we're not talking about a team that should not be named. We've made plenty of 12, 15 hours this weekend. Check out the Mets Weekly channel if you want that one, ESM. We've done post-game. We have more content coming. We're not done. Kind of prefer it to be off-season because that's where all of our videos are better in the off-season. So that is the team that I also cheer for that I expected to suck like most people. But due to a cupcake schedule, Daniel Jones being absolutely decent, the defense is great, and Saquon Barkley being Saquon Barkley. The New York Giants are 4-1, just went into London and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And now they have a test this week against the Baltimore Ravens, but also having a cupcake schedule could legit find a way to sneak their way into the postseason for the first time since 2017. Andrew Thomas being the left tackle that they drafted, which I like the pick. Again, I've made videos months ago or years ago when they drafted. I like the pick. He has become and is now graded as the highest offensive lineman in football. Yes, the rest of the offensive line, we don't really want to talk about. It's kind of trash the rest of it. Evan Neal has had a couple of bad games, but a couple of very good ones. The interior line just sucks. We're getting Nick Gates back, so maybe that could help one of the interior guard positions. Daniel Jones, again, is the biggest reason. He's actually playing football that doesn't suck, which, again, has been the problem with Daniel. He hasn't turned the ball over in 3 games. He hasn't fumbled in, since week 1. So this guy – he's definitely going to fumble.
He's going to have, 6
they're going to die. Again, if they find
have 6 turnovers this week now.
And they're playing the Ravens. I'm expecting the Ravens to kill us. I'm expecting that this week. If they find a way to beat the Ravens – they're going to the Super Bowl. But I will run through a wall for Brian Daboll. They did the front office of Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. Mara, you did something great. I appreciate it. It only took you like a half decade or over a decade to realize you could hire people outside of the organization and there actually are good candidates outside of the organization. So you did do well, Joe Shane. They just called Carolina. They're talking about adding DJ Moore because obviously Daniel Jones has done this with no wide receivers. The one that Dave Gettleman paid $80 bajillion not to catch any footballs. Yeah, he's done it. Kadarius Toney injured all the time, and even like their backups. Obviously, Sterling Shepard just blew out his ACL. They've friggin' David Sills and Richie James are their number one receivers or number two receivers. The fact that they have called Carolina about DJ Moore would be a complete game changer for the Giants. But again, just a call. Didn't say they're going to make a trade. But if they are interested in a receiver, there is one in free agency, which I'm a big fan of Mr. Odell Beckham in a couple of months being healthy once he's ready to go. If the Giants are a playoff team, I know he's probably going to ring chase with Buffalo or Kansas City or something like that, as he should. But if the Giants are still competitive, why not? He was back at MetLife talking to Sterling Shepard, obviously, after he blew out his ACL. Everyone got all excited. Oh, he visited the Giants. He did visit the Giants, but he did not talk to Dayball or Shane, just checking up on his buddy Sterling Shepard. But yeah, the Giants, good job. You did so. Excuse me. Joe Shane's a dub. Brian Dayball's a dub. Wink Martindale's a dub. You've got the coaching staff in place. Now Joe Shane's job is to bring the talent in, and you've got pieces. Like I said, Andrew Thomas, Kayvon Thibodeau. You don't have a quarterback. I'm not willing to. If Daniel Jones continues to play like this, I will franchise tag him next year and let him play on the franchise tag. I'm not in the willing of giving him a long-term deal. But if he plays like this and he played in London, bloody hand, no receivers, and still finding a way to beat Aaron Rodgers, if he's doing that, franchise tag him, and we'll see how this goes. Saquon, I'm still trading. If I'm loving the value of him going up, I'm still trading him at the trade deadline. If somebody's dumb enough to give me a second-round pick for a running back, or hell, even a first, goodbye, Saquon. I will pay. I love you. You're winning games for the Giants himself. But the Giants are still should be in a rebuild mode. So if Buffalo or the Chiefs or Green Bay or someone calls for Saquon Barkley, and they're willing to give me a second-round pick or a first-round pick, you need to send him out of there because that's the best thing for the team to do, especially when they should be rebuilding. But this cupcake schedule is giving us false hope. Again, they're not winning the Super Bowl, but it's giving us the fun. It's been fun to watch Giants games, which has taken 5 years since the Giants have been watchable, and they're winning besides we're watching for Saquon or watching to see what Daniel Jones is a rookie. You're seeing good football, and they're winning. And I think that's the biggest thing for the Giants. If they keep doing this, if they can find a way to sneak into the playoffs, I don't know what it is. They're got to expand the playoffs now, so there's a shot. You got anything you want to put on the Giants, even though you don't watch football?
I mean, I watched a little bit of that game on was it Sunday in London. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what you were doing in the final minutes of those games. You looked stupid, legitimate stupid. I think I could have made better decisions than that. Secondly, I don't know. I don't watch football, but I don't know. I feel like trading Saquon would be the wrong move, but that's just me.
It's running back is the most.
I guess we're going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. We're going to the Super Bowl.
As the great urinating Trey says, it's not the Steelers. The Steelers are not going to the Super Bowl. The Giants are going to the Super Bowl. And on that note, any final remarks about anything before we have episode 1? The first one is in the books.
Go back to what I said to you before we started streaming, or recording, I should say. Just take more showers. You're definitely a little stinky. Be better for WWE as well.
I mean, yeah, I hop in the shower, and I literally hop in the shower. Gallows and Anderson are back. Brock Lesnar's back. Freaking Seth wins the U.S. title. I mean, I will say when I take showers, good things happen to things I like. I went to the again. I've said this on stream.
Life is just showers.
I just shower at this point. I went in the shower in the offseason, and Starling Marte. I got out the shower, and Starling Marte was a Met. And good things happen when I shower, pretty much.
You should shower when
I shower a lot.
You should shower when free agency opens up for baseball, and see if the Mets just give Judge just a huge contract just to rub it in Yankees' faces.
Oh, I mean, yeah, definitely. Speaking of, I guess I'll do a little bit of plugging because I do have other content coming out because now the offseason is up for the Mets earlier than I expected, but. For me personally and content creating wise, it's better because I will have out my Dream Offseason 1.0. What?
It's not better. Don't lie to yourself.
Oh, it's better for me. I say for content.
You would much rather see the Mets win the Super Bowl.
I would love to see the Mets win. I'm saying for content wise, it's better. So I will have my
Everything's
dream
a
off.
Super Bowl, by the way. I just want you to
Everything's a Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. Guys, if anyone actually sat through this whole thing, I appreciate you. Leave in the comments if you sat through this whole thing.
Definitely not.
Be used to this. I doubt anyone will.
You should
but
probably cut it up, honestly.
Oh, I will definitely be chopping up, and highlights will be added and all that. But yeah, the last thing, again, promo for the channel. Obviously, check out Empire Sports Media for all of your New York sports needs, not just of the New York Mets, Yankees, Giants, Islanders, Penguins. Not Penguins, they don't play in New York. The Knicks, everybody in New York sports. Check out Empire Sports Media. Again, like I said, you're going to get some content flowing back on this channel, and obviously on the Mets Weekly channel. We're going daily content, banging out at minimum 3 to 5 videos a week. This is going to be a bi-weekly thing. I think every 2 weeks we'll probably get 2 a month, depending on if big news breaks. If there is a massive trade and, Patrick King gets traded, it could be an emergency podcast that we'll record and put up. But again, these are going to be twice, or if the Rangers make a move, whatever. This will be twice a month. Obviously, the MLB offseason stuff. Again, all that once the World Series is over, the fun stuff here. But definitely going to get my Dream 1.0. I'm going to get 3 of those out this year. 1 after the Mets are eliminated, 1 after all of the arbitration and declining of the contracts are up, and then the third one will be after the winter meetings, once the Mets start making moves, finishing up the roster. So episode 1.0 will be out probably in the next week. Planning to get that out maybe this weekend. This will be out on Thursday, so I'm hopefully uploading this on Thursday. So thank you guys for watching. I'm sure to drop a like, subscribe, and all those links are down in the description below. And I will see you guys in the next video.